other county office, county employees to man a bail bond board, then the Commissioners Court needs to approve it.
Okay. You get to go first on the next question, or you're up there. What should Titus County be doing about the proposed Marvin Nichols Reservoir?
I don't know that Titus County is actually a part of the Marvin Nichols Reservoir. All of the land, or most of the land that is to be taken for the Marvin Nichols Reservoir is in Red River County. The problem that I have with the Marvin Nichols Reservoir is if 80% of the water is going to the Metroplex, then 80% of that property that is set aside because of taking the property to the lake ought to come in the Metroplex area rather than all of it coming from this area. So if the Commissioners Court wants to address that in some form of a resolution, then that's probably an item that ought to be on the agenda.
Thank you, Brian.
First of all, as somebody who has economic development near and dear to my heart, I would love to see the Marvin Nichols Reservoir built, but only if we really determine that that's what's needed. I think that ultimately that's the direction that we're heading. I think at some point we're going to be forced into it. And I would much rather be way ahead of the curve and position ourselves in a very positive way where we get all the benefits. And that can be done, and that's been attempted to be done. Now again, I'd love to have that body of water up there, but in order to get that large body of water up there, I realize that there's some landowners that are going to be forced into giving up land that they don't want to give up. And again, the purpose for building Marvin Nichols should not be just to create an economic boom for us around here, just to have a nice lake that we can build beautiful lake houses around. If the project is needed and the plan shows it and the study shows that, then yes, I would absolutely support it. If there's an alternative way to get that same water supply that would not involve taking people's land, I'm certainly in favor of that too. But as far as me personally, I've told you what I think about it.
Okay. Is there any difference between Sam Russell's law practice and his trying cases in district court and his serving as county judge and your business interest if you were elected county judge at the time that you would have to devote to them?
My problem with Sam having a personal, a private practice really has nothing to do with taking time away from the job as county judge. Now, if it's significant enough where it does take time away, then yes, I do have a problem with it. But just like me, if I have personal interests that are going to prevent me from doing my job as county judge adequately, I don't need to be doing them. And I'm pledging you here right now that county judge will be my #1 priority. Now, if that means I have to turn over 100% of the management of my mini warehouses to somebody else, it'll be done. If they have to replace me at L&P Concrete, it'll be done. I don't think that will need to be done, but if that's what it requires, then I'll do that. Primarily, the problem I have with a county judge that practices law is the type of law that he's practicing. You know, and is it okay for our county judge to be a criminal defender in the district court? It is legal, absolutely. Is it ethical? I don't think so. I think it's a conflict of interest. But again, I'll go into that more in my closing statement, but I don't think that's more of an issue to me, the conflict of interest in taking time away from the performance of your job as county judge.
Let me ask you this as a follow-up. Are you saying that your concrete company will not be bidding for the Loop project or other county projects while you're a county judge?
I certainly hope that they are, but if I can have an impact over us getting the concrete, I would be real surprised. Now, if we've got quality concrete that meets specifications and we're a competitive bidder, then that's fine. But I'm certainly going to recuse myself out of any of those decisions. You know, I would love to see that business could get some of the concrete work, but as far as I know, that's going to be real. I'm going to be scrutinized real carefully. So I'll have to be sure that I have no apparent or otherwise, agenda that would allow me to take, special advantage of my position as county judge to get those contracts. I'm assuming there's going to be a 100% upfront bid process. And again, when it comes time for me to recuse myself from those decisions, as county judge, I absolutely will.
Thank you. Okay, Sam?
I think it was real clear when I ran 4 years ago, when I told the voters that I did not plan to give up my law practice. People knew then that I practiced criminal defense work. It is not unethical. It is not illegal. There have been Attorney General opinions. There have been Court of Criminal Appeals case opinions that say that. So, it's real easy to say that if you have a business, that I will not let my business interests conflict with my job. There's still no indication that any businessman is willing to close their business or give up their business, just as a lawyer or any other professional who has a professional service would be in this situation. So I think all you have to do is drive down Jefferson and see my lights on in my office at 10:30 at night. Go by the courthouse in the morning to see me when I'm there. Talk to the police departments when they come out to my house at 3 o'clock in the morning to have a search warrant signed, that I work pretty much 24 hours a day.
Thank you. Okay, Sam, you get to go first on the next question. We live in an ethnically diverse community. The racial breakdown in Titus County pretty much mirrors that of the state of Texas, with the large white, Hispanic, and African American populations. What can you, as county judge, do to make this one community and have harmony amongst the races?
I think in any political office that I've held, I've always made it clear to the people I represented that my door is always open. So if there is anything that I can do to assist in that regard, I will certainly be willing to do it. I think the greatest challenge of holding public office is making government work for people. So if there's any way that I can assist in bringing people together to address those concerns, I'm certainly willing to do that.
Thank you. Brian?
I asked that same question within the last couple of weeks when I was speaking with a couple of members of our Hispanic community that are that are part of our clergy. And the way I would have answered that question 2 weeks ago is different how I would answer it now. And the answer is I don't have all the answers, but I know where I would start, and this was their suggestion. First of all, they were so grateful that I came and spent an hour with them just to listen to them and talk to them. They said, Brian, right now we feel so isolated in this community. We know that our numbers are huge, but right now we feel we don't have anybody that's listening to us. We feel we don't have a say. And I said, well, you may be right, but sometimes there's steps that you have to take. Sometimes there's things that you have to do to get involved. And they said, yes, we understand that. But they said, Brian, if you would just find time in your schedule as county judge to sit down and maybe have lunch with us once a month, once every couple of months, and let us share with you some of the things that we're dealing with. They told me about several situations that made them feel uncomfortable, that made them feel isolated. They explained to me why they're not part of the voting process. And most of it is because just simply of ignorance. They don't know where to begin. They don't feel like they have a contact person. I want to be that contact person, whether it's the black community, whether it's the Hispanic community, whether it's the white community. But I'm here specifically talking about the black and Hispanic community. I want them to feel like they've got a voice, specifically in county government. And I'll take the time to sit down with them, and I'll make sure that they understand that they're welcome at specific meetings, at specific gatherings, and I'll listen to them. I'll provide suggestions for them. But that is something that they desperately want, at least the Hispanic community, is to become more involved. And that's where I'll start, just simply spending time with them.
Thank you. Closing remarks.
Well, as I said earlier, I think we've accomplished the goals that I set out when I ran 4 years ago, but there's still work to be done. Even though I will continue holding county court to handle misdemeanor cases which continue to be filed, and the other day-to-day functions as county judge, my number one priority for another term is to continue to work with the City of Mount Pleasant and the Department of Transportation to complete the Loop project. Not only will this project be an economic stimulus to Titus County, but also it will improve traffic congestion, safety, and our quality of life. It's been a distinct honor and privilege to serve as your county judge for the past 4 years. When my longtime friend, Congressman Ralph Hall, called me to congratulate me following my election as county judge in 2006, he told me that he enjoyed holding the position of county judge of Rockwall County as much as any other elective office he had held. I agree with him. There's no greater reward when holding public office than being able to help local people with local problems. I would greatly appreciate your support and also your vote at this election. Thank you.
Thank you.
My opponent ran in 2006 promising to run the court the way that it should. The court is not held frequently enough to keep up with the new cases that come in. Over 2,500 cases have been dismissed, resulting in zero revenue and zero punishment for the criminals. Now, he can blame those on the county attorney if he wants, but the Texas Code of Criminal Procedure states that no case shall be dismissed without the consent of the presiding judge. Bail bondsmen are not held financially accountable as we were promised when their defendant doesn't show up. We now have an unacceptable failure to appear rate of 25%. Judicial revenue is half of what it was the year before my opponent took office. We've talked about the county judge also having a criminal defense practice. When he's not working for the citizens of the county, yes, he is a criminal defense lawyer. He practices in our district court. He's doing his very best to get his clients, found innocent. And it is legal. I don't think it's ethical, and I think it's a conflict of interest. I don't think our county judge should be defending criminals. Our judge needs to have a good relationship with our law enforcement community, not one that openly criticizes our officers for their abilities and their character while he's defending his client. A lawyer shouldn't be in a position of influence over the district court judges. In 2008, as our county judge, he tried to give an $8,400 raise to our 2 district court judges. Now think about that for a minute. Taxpayer-provided raise for the 2 district judges that hear his criminal cases. I think that's politics at its best. Even the Professional Ethics Committee for the State Bar says it's a conflict of interest for a lawyer who is a county judge to represent a private client in any court in that county. Now, everybody in this room is a law-abiding citizen, and you're probably not involved in the judicial process. You wouldn't know these details if I hadn't told you. I encourage you to make your own inquiry before you put a lawyer back in this office. Thank you.